Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Need Some Introduction. In today's episode, Sona and I will be breaking down the first two episodes of Dexter Resurrection, the new Showtime Paramount Plus. I'm not sure how this is being
I don't know either
branded.
anymore. I watched it somehow.
Well, it's funny because it's when they were talking about new shows coming out, I have like a little running list, and they're like, this is a Paramount Plus original. And then as soon as the show started today, it's like Showtime presents. I'm like, I don't know what's going on over here.
They don't know themselves at this
They
point.
definitely do not. Just like HBO Max is now HBO Max. Now it's Max. Now it's HBO Max. I'm like, what is going on, people? And of course, the Paramount merger now going through after they have bribed our administration properly. Insane, but that allows us to have more seasons of Dexter Resurrection. It's all worth it in the end, Sona.
That's the bottom line.
That's what matters. A couple of things before we get to that. This is as far as production for next week. Sona and I, our families will be traveling together. So are you arriving on Friday? Is that correct?
We are arriving on Friday. We're trying to figure out what time in the day we can leave, hoping to leave a little bit earlier than the end of the official work day, but still sorting that out.
All depends on when this next episode will be publishing the podcast next week, depending on your arrival. We may be recording in the same room, although we'll probably have crosstalk, so we probably will be in the same house, but in separate rooms.
You can be in your room and I can be in my room.
Exactly. The irony. Will be like next door to each other. A couple of other bits of news. I'll have somewhere here in the feed some follow-up commentary on two shows that wrapped up this week, one being Murderbot, which I'll probably discuss with Darren, and Poker Face, which wrapped up this week. And you haven't watched this season of Poker Face, have you, Sona?
I haven't, but it seemed like they had some amazing guest stars.
They really did. They had a really fun arc at the end of the season. And without spoiling things, there was something planted earlier in the season where she flippantly said, well, the only person who could probably lie and I wouldn't be able to detect it would have to be like the biggest sociopath in the world. And directly in this last episode, she meets that person. And there's this whole thing where it's not even overt that this is her Moriarty. They literally say, to your Sherlock Holmes, I wanted to be your Moriarty, this character, which I won't spoil anything here, but a very cool twist that like her reputation has attracted this the greatest sociopath of all times potentially, and it is very fun, and pretty sure that these characters will be coming back together at some point in the future. Oh, of course, one more piece of news I wanted to mention is Sona, as we discussed last week and kind of speculated on. They've announced, FX has announced that there will be a Bear season 5, not a Bear season 5,
right?
But basically there will be something TBD in the future. We will see these characters again. Unsurprised.
Oh, I thought it was a proper season 5. Is it not?
Well, you know what? They announced it as the Bear season 5. I think that was the simplest way to announce it. And then when I actually read the press release, it sounded more like we'll definitely be, interacting with these characters in future shows in future different ways. I think they're just leaving the door open, but I think the simplest was to say Bear season 5. Although I'm not sure.
I never clicked the headline, so I just assumed it was a season 5.
Yeah, it seems there's some ambiguity in the way they described it after the fact. But regardless, whether it's called The Bear season 5 or not, or they change the name or whatever that happens to be, you have a spinoff with subsets of this cast members, or they're on each other's shows, whatever it happens to be. It's not the last time we've seen these characters. The least surprising piece of information.
Agree.
And one more thing to bring up before we get into this conversation about the Dexter show. Oh, first of all, did you get to watch it with your husband?
I did.
Oh, good. I guess we'll save it for everyone's opinions till we get into the breakdown. But a few things. First of all, you did watch, I don't know if we discussed this on mic or off mic, so we might as well just circle back to it. Just earlier this year, they brought back this Original Sin, this prequel season where Dexter was younger, his first kills, I guess, as he just started working at the Miami Police Department. And you did watch the show through, and I think you recommended it. But how do you feel now, having seen a little bit of this show, like the fact that it's coming back for a second season, which for me, very weird, a second season for a prequel series. What would you say to audiences out there who are contemplating whether they should watch these shows in parallel or not.
I don't think I realized that it was coming back for another season. So I'm learning lots from you in this few minutes.
Well, there's another thing. I guess I'll just announce it. They have announced that there is a season 2 of this show also coming, which is very odd for me because it's a sequel to the prequel season. I guess the ratings were strong enough, but now that you've seen a little bit of this new show, do you think that there's some potential synergy between having these two shows running in parallel? Like, what's your general opinion?
Well, I did enjoy that season of the show. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was brilliant, but I did enjoy watching it. It held my interest. I think it's kind of strange to be, I feel like I can only handle one timeline at a time.
Yeah, it's going to get confusing really
That
quick.
might have to do with my own mental capacity, but especially because, well, obviously Dexter is a different actor,
Right.
but one thing that we were commenting on is that they went back to the original actor for Harry rather than using
Yes.
Christian Slater,
Mhm.
who was Harry in the flashback series, I'll call it. So it just seems weird to have different actors playing the same characters I don't know. I feel like that's a bit much for me. I would probably have to choose one timeline of Dexter to deal with at once. I don't think I could watch them simultaneously. Maybe they won't be on simultaneously.
They'll probably go back and forth probably between seasons. I wouldn't be surprised. It's a way to keep people engaged if this show takes longer to come back for another season.
I mean, I think there could be an interesting thing going on where they plant seeds in the past timeline for what happens in the present day timeline. Like it could be cool.
And he is narrating, right? They're the framing devices that he is narrating from his coma state, right? That prequel show. Is that correct?
Yeah, I forgot about that. But yes, that is the framing device for the show.
Which will be a weird framing device now that he's not in the coma, unless we go back into his coma. And I don't know. This is all confusing,
fair.
very confusing and unnecessarily confusing. But as long as people watch these shows, they'll keep watching. They'll keep making them, I should say. Oh, one more thing I wanted to bring up. OG Dexter being set in Miami. Everything's like sun-drenched. And then seeing this very different Dexter sequel season, New Blood, where it's all in this white on white type of snowbound noir. But then now being in New York, which is a big fun change of style, obviously. But these warm interior colors are usually like bathed in browns and reds, made me think about you. So the question I have, Sona, as a big fan of you, and of course a lot of shared DNA, no pun intended.
Oh, I thought you just meant it made you think of me. Okay.
It made me think of you. Those warm interiors. Now made me think of the Netflix series, You. And a quick question as to whether you finished this most recent season. Have you seen
I did.
What'd you think of how things wrapped up without spoiling things in case people haven't caught up?
I think it wasn't perfect, but I did enjoy it for what it was. Like there is a character in that last season that I think has been kind of divisive. Or maybe not divisive, maybe kind of widely hated. I didn't love that character. And that character has a lot of screen time. I think my view is partly influenced by that. But I think it definitely wasn't perfect. I think the series isn't perfect. I think every season of it is not perfect. But Penn Badgley's charisma is such that he can carry a lot on his back. And I feel like he does that successfully. So I enjoy watching him.
Just like Dexter is the reason people keep coming back for these shows, right?
Exactly. Michael C. Hall has that same charisma. I mean, coincidence that they're both serial killers? I don't know. So,
maybe you just have
people said Ted Bundy was very charismatic too, right?
So now you setting Polaroids the serial killers that are incarcerated?
No, I have to draw the line somewhere. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of appeal to these characters, obviously. And with that, once again, without spoiling anything, I think there was some people who were fans of the character, maybe saw him in some kind of heroic light. I don't know how to not spoil this, but what do you think about like his condition by the end of the show?
I might have even read someplace that the way the show ends was kind of designed to specifically dispel the idea that people should be idolizing him or looking up to him or finding merit in his decisions. And I think they did that, and in a way that, listen, it was never a show to be taken super seriously in my mind. You know, it always went a little over the top. It was always a dark comedy. You know, I don't think it was ever something that people were supposed to think of as realistic. And I think that's part of the reason that you could like the serial killer character, right? Because otherwise you shouldn't like a serial killer character. So, you know, I get what they were trying to do, but then I also question, you know, the people that thought what he was doing is so great. I mean, I think we all took it tongue in cheek, didn't we? Was there anyone who literally, seriously, earnestly viewed this show? I don't know.
Well, I think maybe the backlash was, if you take the whole thing as just like with a grain of salt and having fun, that maybe they didn't want to see him get punished, let's say. And then maybe they thought that the punishment was a little severe.
It is a little severe.
Hey, I mean, I haven't seen the last season of the show. I kind of, dipped in and out when we had these conversations, but in general, didn't really follow it. And my wife quit on it too. She watched more of it than I did, but she quit on it as well. But maybe she'll finish it. I think she was on the last season, so maybe she'll push through.
I mean, I just found it really fun, you know? So, and as you know, like certain seasons were set in New York, which I love. I liked a lot of the actors, not just the main actor, even though he was definitely the primary selling point for me. I have a very fine line of when things get too absurd for me. And this walked the line so perfectly of taking things over the top, but not so over the top that it annoyed me. But that's definitely, you know, your mileage may vary.
Speaking of mileage varying, what did you think, without getting into the breakdown? We'll be breaking down these episodes, by the way, in much more detail. I have many things, wrote many notes, surprisingly, for these two episodes. But before we get into the breakdown, curious to know what you thought of these two episodes of the show. I'll just set it up very briefly that Dexter has come back from the dead, of course, somehow survived a shot to his heart at the end of last season, or I guess it's an alternate season of the show. Different
at fairly
series.
Close range too.
Very close, yes, exactly, and right through the heart. Apparently, did get shot in the heart. They didn't even try to play it off like it wasn't shot in the heart. I mean, considering the amount of bleeding he did, and somehow, even though he was bleeding out in the snow, miles and miles, maybe an hour away from the hospital, he somehow miraculously survives. Shot by his son, no less. His son has traveled to New York City, and we won't get into spoilers yet as to how he finds that out, but he discovers he's there, and Dexter decides he has to go do his fatherly duties and check in with Harrison in New York. And that's pretty much the setup for episode 1, and we'll get into the in-betweens of all that. But what were your general thoughts on these first 2 episodes?
I really liked it. I really, really did. I do think, well, now I'm starting to come off as some kind of serial killer fangirl, but you know,
I know
really,
there's those Polaroids, you just haven't sent them yet.
I really do think that Michael C. Hall is so charismatic, and it was fun to see him back in this role. I was trying to remember if the original Dexter had this much dark comedy, but the first episode, for sure, I thought was very funny and actually had, for me, some laugh out loud moments. And even in the second episode as well, I found that. So I thought it was really entertaining. I think entertaining is the perfect word for it, really.
Yeah.
And I liked how they are making sure to kind of spell out certain things that we might have forgotten from the past.
Yes.
Because I do forget a lot. I'm the one that's always complaining. I need a better previously on, you know, set of clips to trigger my memory. And I think what surprised me a little bit, and I'm curious about, is that there seemed to be like a political commentary going on as well that I'm curious about how that's going to develop.
Specifically with this killer that he's tracking, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I surprised myself. You know, I've been more cynical about this than you have.
I'm much more cynical.
And I thought this was so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
Right? So entertaining.
It's like so aware of some of the silly, stupid plot contrivances it has to make too. And it just kind of says, okay, let's just get that out of the way. and throws it out the window. But then it's like sets things in motion because it just knows that we can't wait to see this setup. Like Dexter's in New York. It's like so much fun.
Yes.
And, using enough of what came before with an angel on his tracking him and such to make it to pay off. But, enough. So there's enough plausible deniability where we can buy into this thing, which, there's so many silly, crazy things that are impossible that this show could even be on, and not even beyond him being shot and somehow surviving. But that's just the tip of the iceberg with some of the silly things that happen here.
Yeah, I think this show at this point is taking itself a lot less seriously. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And but this is a lot of fun. And but the dark comedy was always there from the start.
I agree, but it was also just plain dark.
Yes.
Right? At times when you think about like the history of Dexter, his childhood and all of that. And not that we won't return to that, but at least for these 2 episodes, it seems to be taking itself a lot less seriously.
All right, so let's get into the breakdown now. We'll only be discussing the first 2 episodes, and we'll go through it in order. There are 2 episodes available, by the way, to anybody out there. The show will go week to week beyond this point, and we'll be covering it. I think if the quality of the show stays at this level, even though episode 2 is not as good as episode 1, but it's tantalizingly setting up things that haven't even shown up, that are in the trailer, by the way. And that's the last thing I'm going to say. There are things that are in the trailer that honestly, at this point in the show, having seen these 2 episodes, I'm always curious to see how something gets marketed when you see like a movie trailer, and then I watch the film, and oftentimes things that you're not supposed to know until like the 3rd act were in the trailer. And I'm like, well, I would have preferred to see this movie not knowing that, right? It's not a full spoiler, but it usually spoils a lot. And to be honest, it's very tantalizing what they're setting up here, but I'm not going to explicitly say what it is setting up, even though this is all in the trailer. And here we are 2 episodes in, and it seems like we probably won't even get to the reveal in episode 3. It's probably in episode 4, I would predict that's when the big reveal comes. And by the way, all of that's in the trailer, which is very strange.
Also, I looked up the cast.
Yes, of course.
It's really interesting to see some of the people that are in this cast that we haven't seen yet. So I'm looking forward to that too.
They have it in the credits at the end, the list of very, very famous people who we haven't seen. There's many famous people here, by the way. But the cast list has a whole bunch of other famous people, which of course we have not yet seen. So yes, this episode is called A Beating Heart. His heart is indeed still beating. And Sona, I wrote down recap exclamation points because I know you're always complaining.
I love
the Bear gives you no recaps. This one gives you, not only do you get recaps for the previous season, they give you recaps at the start of every episode. Even if you're binging 2 episodes together, you still get the recap.
And I still need them. I am so grateful for them.
Just remind me the things I need to pay attention to specifically in this episode.
Exactly. I need my handheld a little bit. I'm not embarrassed to admit it.
So Dexter is once again monologuing, as he always is on these shows. And he is visited by the ghosts of Christmas past. I guess these are all ghosts of Christmas past. We have John Lithgow playing Trinity, the Trinity killer, right? Arthur Mitchell. He also meets Jimmy Smits, not one of my favorite characters on the show.
Not one of anybody's favorites. Thank God we didn't see Colin Hanks, right?
Oh, God. Could you imagine? Oh, boy. He was available probably, but luckily not there. He also sees James Remar, his father, of course, comes back. And to that point, it makes sense that they bring Remar back because we've never seen younger Dexter with this character. Can you imagine if...
No, it's true.
They're like basically the same age and we've never seen them. And not only that, if people don't watch Original Sin, and I'm sure many of these people
why is Christian Slater here?
Why is he here? Like, what's he doing here? And of course, Dokes. Surprise indeed. That was pretty funny.
The best. They really made the most of jokes in this episode. It was awesome.
Speaking of that, as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, there's all these ghosts visiting him, just like, Ebenezer Scrooge on, the Christmas Eve. He even makes a reference to it. He's like, don't the ghosts usually stop after 3? It's like, once again, the idea that this show is very self-aware of what it's doing at this point. Oh, I do want to mention something here that is interesting that they did. As much as I hated that season of the show, 3rd season, I think it was, the one where he goes head to head with Prado, Jimmy Smith's character. One of the big complaints I had was that Dexter was all of a sudden very out of character. He has like no he's a pretty antisocial character. And all of a sudden he was like taking things personally and chumming around with the Jimmy Smith character. And I do want to compliment the show that he is very chummy with him in their interactions here. It's almost as if they're not like leaning away from that weird characterization that he did that season. They're like, no, they even talk about it. He goes like,
they explicitly address it. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I never hung out with anybody like you before. Like, I got to we just chilled and talked about killing people. It was so much fun.
Two serial killer best buds.
He has erased a lot of people from the later seasons who did also know he was a serial killer, by the way. He even says, he goes, I usually only have that kind of intimacy with people on the kill table, which of course he did end up doing to him as well. So the takeaway from all of these different interactions are all these different ghost characters reminding him that the mistake he made wasn't killing people. Sona, the mistake was in wanting to have it all.
Yeah, I love this. It's like a working mom.
Right, exactly.
How can I achieve the proper work-life balance?
I never understood that, by the way, like that whole idea that women needed to have it all. I'm like, how can I be at the PTA bake sale at 2:30 and work till 7 o'clock in my office? It's like, you can't do that. And by the way, if you're like, yeah, but these rich dudes have been doing it for years and they have it all. I'm like, they don't have it all. They just work. There is no balance. There's no family life at all.
What they have is a stay-at-home mom often.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, I'm not condoning that that's the proper way, but like the idea that like, well, they have it all. Like, well, they don't. They just stay at work 24 hours a day. That's all they do.
I always go back to my kind of slogan for the decisions I make is you can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Right. What was that saying that, you can't have everything? You can have everything. You just can't have it all at once.
Yeah, exactly.
But long and short of it, after all these visitations, killing baddies, good. Having friends, bad.
Well, a family bad is really what the message was.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of conflicted here because after going on and on about like being close to these people is just going to get them killed, then there's this whole like, well, you have to go protect your son. He's your son. It's like, all right, well, make up your mind. So then we see Harrison. He has moved to New York. He's working in a hotel. He's got this teen mom that he's flirting with a little bit. Not even flirting with, actually. I don't think they have much chemistry, but he does seem to be interested in her. She just seems to be cheap babysitting here. I think is her opinion of him.
No, but by the end of the 2 episodes, it seems like something more.
Yeah, that does seem like they're going to go out and have a drink. Maybe it's going to get romantic. Mm-hmm. He got his GED. Well, congratulations. He's a hipster now. He's listening to Parquet Courts when he wakes up in the morning. I love Parquet Courts, by the way, but this is not.
The music in these 2 episodes was super fun.
So much good music, yeah. And this is a pretty obscure needle drop, but he follows that obscure needle drop with a very recognizable needle drop, which is the Talking Heads song.
Yes.
And of course, this is home. This is where he's living now. And he's kind of made his way. It's really nice. It's kind of very touching to see him like kind of has landed on his feet and has made a new home for himself, basically, explicitly right there in the lyrics. It's interesting early on. Of course, this is going to pay off. There's like a close up when he's tying the knots on the garbage cans, on the garbage bags, I should say, very fastidiously, which makes sense. You don't want to get any of that stuff on you when you're working at a hotel, but that's going to be a giveaway later on. Important clue.
You just knew those garbage bags were going to come back. You knew by the way it was shot.
Yeah, everybody likes him. He's always helping everybody out, but he's still haunted. He's haunted by the shooting of his father. Now he's going to have more hauntings as the episode continues.
Can I interject for 1 second on a tangent? What I thought was really fun, especially at the beginning of this episode, and something that I didn't notice in the season that took place in upstate New York, is how many of Dexter's mannerisms he's picked up. Have you noticed? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like the way the backpack is slung over his shoulder and just his way of walking and talking. It's all very much mirroring Dexter. And one thing that I can't remember if it was established previously, but neither Dexter nor his son will stop eating, it seems.
Yes, they love to eat, yes.
Right? They're
Dexter was always eating all the time, not only like
donuts for sure.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure if it carried on beyond the donuts.
No, he's always eating. If you watch like season 1, it's like he'll be tracking somebody and he's eating like a chili dog. He's like, it's just continuously eating something. But yeah, they both like to eat. Killing really takes it out of you. You know what I mean?
It works up an appetite.
It really does.
It does look strenuous the way they do it.
He meets this girl, Shauna, importantly, early on, and she's like kind of out of towner. She's also kind of new to the city, and she's really impressed with everything and kind of plants a seed that, hey, you can be anyone you want to be here in New York. So I hear if you make it there, you can make it anywhere.
So they say.
It's up to you. And then, of course, the payoff here is that Shauna later that night, there's also this guy that he kind of seemed to have a good relationship with, who I guess he's been at the hotel for a long time or just comes there pretty frequently because he seems to be getting him batteries and hooking him up with, fix my watch, etc. Oh, the watch, very importantly, it's going to pay off later on too, because they asked, where's his watch? Because he has a tan line. And of course, we know that at the moment, Harrison has it because he's supposed to be helping him get it fixed. But that night, turns out this guy's a creeper, and he's got a bag full of Rohypnol. I'm not sure why you need so much of it. He must be very active. Maybe every night he's got another woman up there. But Shauna is the same girl, is his victim that night. And he kind of walks him upstairs, doesn't know whether to get involved or not. Luckily, this very high-end hotel has very thin walls because she says no. And he can hear it clear down the hall, comes running back and intercedes. And things get bad. What did you think about this whole sequence here in the hotel room?
Well, obviously it was uncomfortable to watch, and I liked the thought process you can see going on where he couldn't decide whether, sorry?
He's remembering the girls from the previous season?
Yes, remembering that, and he couldn't decide whether to intervene or not, trying to think about how bad is it really, and then he hears her say no from behind the door, and then it all goes out the window and he just needs to act immediately. I thought that was nicely done.
I also liked how it escalated. Like at first, it's just like he just tackles him, and then the guy has this like attitude like... Oh,
the fight itself. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that he's just has this attitude of, you can't touch me, kid. I'm like, and then how that triggers him in a way. And then he starts getting more violent. And then, of course, at that point, he takes it much further. And that is definitely triggered by that vision he has of all the girls when he's saying, like, I'm just going to do it again. And then he flashes back to all those dead women that, basically the people he was not able to save in the previous season of the show.
What's up with that weird red light the guy travels with, though?
Which guy?
The sexual assaulter. I don't know his name.
Oh, because the room is all in red. I thought that was just a lighting effect. I didn't realize it was maybe he's like, I just like...
I don't think so. I think he packs that.
I need a red lighting from my room. Wow, that's extra creepy if that's actually his intention. Like he just screws in the red light bulb and goes like, we're ready for
I don't know. I feel like I've stayed in enough hotel rooms and I've never seen something like that, but maybe.
Yeah, it seems like it's the brightest light in the room. I just thought it was going for an effect because, later on you see someone's in the closet and they're lit by this red light, but the whole room is bathed in this red light.
Yeah, I found the whole thing a little bit distracting, to be honest, but
yeah, it's a little too
not
much.
A major issue.
So then he eventually smashes this guy's head in with the toilet lid, and he's like, oops, I took things too far. But luckily, he's been trained for just this very occasion.
Convenient.
Yeah, a lot of really good needle jobs, as you mentioned here. One of my favorites is when while he's cutting him apart, they're playing Bad Decision by the Strokes. Like, yeah, maybe a bad decision indeed. This is pretty grisly, the dismemberment, by the way. So, yeah, what are the logistics of this? I guess he knows where the cameras are. He avoids them.
This is the discussion my husband and I were having at the time. And this is, the discussion you and I have had about modern technology and how it makes it very hard to construct a story sometimes in entertainment, because you would think the hotel would have cameras in the hallway, although that's discussed later. And you would think that there is, a card key log of some sort of all the ins and outs that he's doing. So yes, logistically, I found this interesting. I think it's a little bit hand wavy, but I'm willing to buy it. What do you think?
Well, I think they have some of it's plausible deniability. We're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but he will be questioned by the cops. I guess that's in episode 3, but they circle back to Shauna because eventually this investigation shows that he was with Shauna. We haven't seen footage of only Shauna, but I'm sure when they see that footage, they'll probably see Harrison escorting her. And then that's why he's getting asked these questions. But then, of course, that also means that they were near this guy, very close to the last time he was seen by anybody. So, of course, that raises many questions.
He was with them in the elevator. There's always a camera in the elevator, and they say that too.
Right. And then, yes, so you're going to see Harrison with them earlier. And then, of course, Harrison gets the body out by putting it on that the tray table. And he has changed his shirt and is wheeling him down the hallway inside underneath there. So that's going to be on camera. So, I mean, this guy seems like he's going to be, identified as a suspect number one pretty quickly. Yes, many questions. But yeah, so he gets her down to the kitchen, which is closed after, but apparently no cameras in the kitchen. and
also no 24-hour room service in this hotel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they close at 10 o'clock. I mean, I guess it's like I was going to say it's like a boutique hotel, but then it's like 15 floors. So, I mean, it doesn't seem to be that small. So, yeah.
Maybe they just tell people to order DoorDash if they're hungry in the middle of the night. It's the city.
It's a new technology. That's how it is.
Yeah, you can get anything anytime.
That's how it is on like some some smaller hotels, but that it seems odd for this place that they wouldn't have an operational kitchen overnight. So he dismembers him and cuts him up into 9 pieces. This is kind of a calling card for Dexter. It's the correct number. He likes squares, maybe. And this is pretty grisly. Just a decapitated head there is one shot there. And of course, he's busy for hours doing this when he hears the trucks coming, and he doesn't tie all those bags perfectly. The next morning, so the one bag opens during the garbage disposal, like a leg pops out. And of course, the incredibly on top of it, Detective Wallace and Oliva come along. Detective Wallace, I think, is the female cop, right? She's the one who has like this sixth sense about murder investigating.
I am taking a look at my cast list here. Hang on. I've got Detective Claudette, and then it cuts off. She's definitely Claudette. I'm not sure who else she is.
So there's another analog being drawn here, a parallel between Dexter, who of course is like this blood spatter expert, and this Claudette character who also seems to have like special ways of part of it is listening to music while she's staring at, and she finds this very, very subtle clue that all the bags are tied the same way. Regardless, she does notice.
I mean, she's a real eagle eye, this one.
And then they find their way back to, how did they find their way back to the hotel specifically, though?
I think once they found the head and the hands, they were able to identify him and realized he was staying at the hotel.
Aha, very good.
I think. I'm not sure it was spelled out, though.
I mean, she also asked how many places they stopped at, and said, maybe, I guess they could retrace the route, but, or they could find other garbage in those bags that have, maybe menus.
Oh, they might have found other trash in the bags. That's a good point. Yeah, but I don't think so. I think I don't think he put other trash in there with the body parts, but maybe he did.
But he ties all the bags with those knots. So all those other bags have the dead giveaway knots as well.
Maybe.
If anyone just watches him put out the garbage and sees the knots, they'll know exactly who did this. It's not going to take long to crack this case, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I could get away with it because my knots look like any other knot.
That's right. Be as nondescript as possible.
Distinctive knot tying style.
All the way back in Dexterland. He's come out of his coma. He's trying to recover from this.
By the way, are you having a hard time accepting that this is not Alaska and it's upstate New York? Because I had that problem throughout that entire season, and I continue to have it today.
I've accepted it now. It was confusing to me then. It's not confusing to me now.
Or like the Pacific Northwest, not necessarily Alaska. But for some reason, I have been convinced he was either in Alaska or the Pacific Northwest. And it's really hard for me to absorb that was upstate New York.
Just the whole last season, you mean?
Yeah, that season. And today, even when we had the scenes of him in the clinic.
You thought he drove all the way from like...
Yes, I mean, they kept spelling it out for me, thankfully. So I was reminded, but yeah.
You're like, you could drive from Alaska in 4 hours? What's happening? That's the most ridiculous part of the show.
And then when I found out Harrison had only gone 4 hours away, I was like, man, leave the country, kid. What are you doing just going 4 hours south?
Go to Miami, find out more about your dad. I thought he was headed to Miami, actually, at the end of last season. But back in his recovery room, now this is where things get really silly with all these conveniences. Angela has decided to leave town. Not totally weird, given all the trauma she went through last season and finding out what actually happened to her sister and what happened to her friend in the course of that show. So I understand wanting to get the hell out of Dodge. I understand that part. The part I don't understand why she's just like, hey, we're even. Are we even? How did that work? I guess she
because
killed the guy.
It was justice for her sister.
Yeah, but then he's still out there killing people. So and he did kill the cop. The cop was just doing his job.
I know that was the question we had watching it is, but what about that specific death? And why are there no consequences for that? But yeah.
Well, the guy shot in the chest. That was the concept. That was the death that, that was the innocent bystander that Harrison couldn't abide and saying like, yeah, you got me dead to rights, kid. I violated the code. You have to kill me. So that was the whole final scene, right? So, but she's like, it's okay. Maybe she's just like, well, it's already done. But
there's no bringing them back. But yeah, I mean, I guess between having vengeance and maybe the hope that he's done killing people, which, is a false hope. But
I think so. But he's still out there. What if he's obsessed with her or something that comes looking for her and her daughter? I mean, I don't know. I don't buy it.
Maybe she went further than 4 hours away.
She's going to Alaska, which is actually just 4 hours away. And then Angel shows up. We did see Angel momentarily last season, so they brought him back full on this season. I got a question for you, Sona. How good is this Cuban sandwich going to taste? How long has it been sitting in that bag?
Well, people regularly fly with bagels from New York, but that is a different situation than something that is meat and meant to be eaten warm.
Would he know a good Cuban sandwich shop in New York? I mean, I guess he could Yelp it, but I don't think he has any personal experience there.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's interesting. He starts asking him questions. At first, he's just being friendly. Maybe that's that stale Cuban sandwich was part of the getting him to drop his guard. But most of what Dexter tells him is actually true. He tells him, I got messed up by Deb's death.
Yes.
Everything he said was true. And then, why did you change your name? That's the only thing that's kind of extra suspicious here. And he goes, I just wanted to start over. I didn't want to have any connection to my name from before. And I just disappeared and I went with it, which once again is pretty much all true. But then it gets a little more complicated because says, you know what? I talked to that crazy ex-girlfriend of yours who's run out of town and shot you. And because I guess she was so angry at you during the breakup that she decided to shoot you and then leave town. That's the version of reality they're going with here to protect Harrison. And says, you know what? She told me the craziest thing. She thought you might be the Bay Harbor Butcher. And guess what? LaGuerta told me that too. And that she ended up dead. And you know what she told me? She told me that Dokes always thought you were a creepy bastard and was curious.
And what a great montage that is.
Yes. Just, yeah, exactly. All the weird things he's called him. And most of those people are now dead. Interesting. And then after that, dropping that bit of a bombshell, he's just like, all right, well, I'll leave you alone till tomorrow. See you again, though. I just want to give you enough time to be able to escape.
Yeah. And think of, plausible stories for explanations for anything that could come up. I don't know.
So then he has his physical therapy. There's a funny moment here where he goes, I'm not used to being laying on a table like this with someone standing over me. He's usually the one who does that, of course. And then he hears a little bit of news while he's talking to his ghost dad. He learns that there's a body found in New York City. I guess it's the physical therapist who brings this up to him and chopped into 9 pieces. And he's like, oh, that sounds familiar to me. Sounds like Harrison's doing some work in New York City. And the next morning when Angel comes back, he hops into the bathroom and makes his escape. And by the way, the fact that they let this guy shower for 45 minutes and no one checks on him, they're like, stop bothering him. Like this guy just had like a hole in his heart. Wouldn't you should check if someone's in the shower for 45 minutes and unresponsive because they could be passed out and they were dead. Someone should be keeping an eye on this guy. He's just like a minute out of a coma. And as we get to the end of the episode, we see this intriguing character. Uma Thurman shows up as Red Right Hand plays on the soundtrack. And she's investigating someone's apartment. She's able to get in there with a special device she has like every possible key to open these doors. She also has the electronic device to open the electronic lock. And it's almost like she's tracking someone like Dexter, which apparently she is, looking for hidden trophies. So apparently she is at another serial killer's apartment, identifying them and leaving them an invitation.
Yes, in a beautiful envelope.
Yes. What do you think about this character or this introduction to the character?
I'm intrigued.
It's interesting because they've introduced this. I guess we're just starting to hint at some group of people who collect or correspond with other serial killers, but she has disdain for this guy. She's like freak or something when she finds the collections, which is a weird reaction for her to have considering what she does for a living.
Yeah, it seems like some sort of serial killer collective, a firm of serial killers, something like that.
Something like that. We don't have all the details yet, but much more to come in this regard.
For sure.
I love the idea of someone who stalks other killers, though. I think that's a very cool idea. And of course, we see Dexter has arrived in New York. And as the episode ends, I'm just laughing, looking at my notes. He says that he sees Harrison at the hotel and he's like, I could cry. Actually,
yes,
I can't. Damn it.
And you see him like try to make himself cry for a second and it just doesn't work.
The pause and then the damn it was what really sold the comedy there. Okay, episode 2 is called Camera Shy. And this is camera shy because of this killer that we get introduced pretty early in this episode, maybe in the opening scene, who hides his face because he has infrared lighting inside of his hoodie so that the cameras, the dash cams inside of these Uber cars can't see his face.
Who I did think was Dexter for a quick minute to go, to the references that are made later in the episode about what this guy looks like.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. We have to talk about that a little bit because it's pretty crazy, the decisions that are made after those revelations.
Yes, it is.
We hear War Pigs, by the way, playing on the soundtrack. I just want to shout that out because everybody should look at the YouTube video, one of the most popular YouTube videos this week, which is Ozzy Osbourne, who's been suffering through some illness for quite some time now, performing with Black Sabbath for the last time just this past weekend, the very last concert they did together. So if you want to check that out, it's on YouTube. So yeah, this rideshare racist, apparently serial killer is out there, accusing these rideshare drivers of having ruined the city. It's not how it was when I was young. And I guess
we know that he's racist, but he's definitely anti-immigration.
Yes, I mean, right. I mean, I guess you could divide those two things, but yes, he is definitely anti-immigrant. And I think that there is some social commentary there for sure. By the way, I just saw the new Superman film. I don't know if Joel's planning to see that, but there's
definitely
there's a big message there about being anti-immigrant. There's a direct correlation to these masked people who, take these people and lock them away into like a pocket universe where they have no human rights and they work outside the law. And there's even this conversation where the military guy apologizes to Superman at one point, and he goes that the government's outsourcing it to this other group. And he's like, so we have no control over it. I'm sorry about how they're being treated. But it's like this whole idea that you are outsourcing to some other third party so that you have like plausible deniability in these government actions. So definitely not subtle, and not subtle here in this show either. This definitely probably trying to be topical for sure. So Dexter is stalking Harrison around New York City, mostly around this hotel. It's funny, they shot the show so quickly because they had announced that we'd come out in July, and then they hadn't even gone into production. I think it was around February or so. They hadn't even started production. I'm like, well, I guess they're not doing it. And then they announced, no, yes, they are. I'm like, how are they going to be able to do this in such a short period of time? But I guess if you're always shooting inside, I mean, a lot of these interiors are probably sets, honestly, but you have like the exterior of these hotels. There's probably very few locations, is what I'm trying to say, the way they shot this. And I think that's usually most of your, time is used on multiple locations. So you can imagine like the hotel set. And I also think that there will eventually be this whole conclave of serial killers is going to be at a hotel, maybe at this very hotel, I would presume, that, they have just these interchangeable rooms. You just dress them separately. You could be shooting one scene in one room, one scene in the other. So they must have shot this very quickly, I would assume. The convenience of set work.
Right.
Is this actually shot in New York? Do you happen to know?
Yes, I believe it is, because my husband had been to the Empire Hotel, which I was surprised that they didn't even change the name. Usually it's
Yeah.
a real building, but then a fictional name. This Empire Hotel is a real hotel, and you can see the PJ Clark's restaurant right underneath it. And it's right by Lincoln Center. So it all checks out. Yeah.
I really liked, by the way, this is such a silly thing, but I do like, and this is what always kind of worked with the show at its best, the way that you see Dexter do his thing, where he enters the hotel as the workers are leaving and he just kind of slides sideways into that doorway. And then he's like, oh, I'm just grabbing a roll of toilet paper. And he grabs the key card. And by the way, that's exactly what you could do in a hotel. I mean, we've snuck into hotels when we were, in Quebec, for that French trip we went on. I think you went on that trip too, didn't you?
No, I didn't, but I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
But it's very easy to get in and out of the hotel and like steal someone's key card from like a maid or something from the table. It's like no one's like trying. This is not like the UN building you're trying to sneak into. It's pretty easy to get around inside of those. Although there should be some like actual police officer on the crime scene floor, to be honest.
Okay, so I get your point. I do think, though, since that time, because we are solidly middle-aged, security has increased exponentially.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Due to world events.
Especially in New York, yeah.
Yeah, especially in New York. So for me watching it, I found it a little unbelievable that no one thought it was strange a guest is wandering around the basement level of the hotel looking for TP. Like, I would get it in a regular hotel hallway. There are times that I've seen the cleaning cart and been like, oh, I'm just going to grab something from here that we need for the room.
Yeah.
But in the basement, it struck me as a little strange.
I mean, may have other things down there that are accessible to the clients, but I do take your point. I mean, especially when you consider that there was like an assassination in front of one of the hotels last year.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want to have something like that happening, but someone just, getting access to a key card and wandering around a hotel. Yeah. So good point. Good point.
But regardless, we'll buy it for the story.
Exactly. Dex, of course, cannot help but feel so proud of his son for doing such a good job of cleaning up his DNA after the attack.
Yes, he's so impressed. He used the right cleanser.
He did. He remembered everything I taught him.
But also, how weird is it that the hotel has a stock of toilet tank covers? Doesn't that seem strange?
It must have come from somewhere. I'm assuming because it doesn't match color-wise. I don't think it came from another room. That would be suspicious.
There was a whole pile of them. They showed it.
Really?
There was like 5 of them stacked up on a shelf. It seems so strange to me. Like either you get a whole new toilet or you don't, but I've never seen this. I mean, not obviously they exist somewhere. I just thought it was strange. Why would you even need a stock of tank covers? Like how often is something happening to the tank cover?
I mean, I could imagine, like, I know that people do sometimes break the tank covers because whatever, they like, drop it on the floor or something, or they misplace it when they put it back after cleaning or something. But it's a pretty rare instance to have a pile of them sitting around. It's pretty strange. But I guess you have hundreds of rooms. I'll buy it. Okay. I'll buy it. The other option, I didn't even see the stack. I was assuming that he may have gone and like bought one, from a supply store and replaced
No, they showed it. They have a stock.
Yeah. If you just swapped it out from another room, then of course that would be a dead giveaway wherever it's missing. Like especially if it's the room he's been staying in, that would be very suspicious. Yeah, pretty funny that and of course they noticed that right away. He also swapped out the liner on the curtains.
Mm-hmm.
But he did. I mean, overall, in a pinch, this kid did pretty well, I got to say.
Yeah, it's not like it was a premeditated murder. So, yes.
There's the one drop of, I mean, there would be a lot more. By the way, there would be a lot more blood spatter on that ceiling. But there's just this one drop that he finds, and he takes it with him.
But, that detective is right on top of everything. She knows.
Yeah, when he's investigating the room, she actually comes in. There's that bathed in red light again. Dexter's the one who's in the closet there. And he happens to listen to her. And there's all this paralleling again. There's all these different characters that kind of parallel here between in the show. And of course, Dexter is like literally saying something in his head as she says it out loud. So, they are very simpatico, these two characters. And if she's thinking it and he's thinking it, then it's going to be very hard for him to stay a step ahead of her.
Mm-hmm. She knows it's too clean in there.
Exactly. I like how she has to do all this forensics about like go and find all of these other, fluids and just as proof that the fact that there is no fluids here is suspicious. And, they do this sampling. And I like how she just has this whole rundown of other
Yes.
possible body fluids.
Instant recall of all the body fluids.
And her partner is just like, well, we did test for that. I like his initially being like, are there other fluids? She's like, yes, here's a whole list of them.
By the end of the list, it was seeming a little bit unlikely, some of those fluids, but you never know.
Yeah, the joint fluids. I'm just like, how did that get out of your body on a regular basis?
Sounds like a medical emergency of some sort.
Exactly. Some of those other things, you're just going to find it in every one of the rooms, unsurprisingly. But like the joint fluid, I'm like, well, if someone's joint fluid is leaking out of their body on a regular basis, you're finding that in multiple rooms, then there's something else going on in the hotel. This is what I was going to bring up, that maybe there could be something interesting being done between these two versions of the show, is seeing Harrison having Dexter now observing Harrison and maybe even befriending him again later in this course of the season. I don't know. And by the way, the critics don't know either. The critical response to this show has been pretty good, been very good, actually.
Oh, nice to hear.
But they've only seen four episodes. So that worries me a little bit. Sometimes, they'll like release the entire season, like Your Friends and Neighbor, except for like the last two or the last one. If there's some kind of cliffhanger, they don't want to give it away. But 4 episodes is kind of like, well, this is like 9 or 10 episodes. So it does worry me that they only released 4 to the critics. But
yeah, maybe it goes sideways after that. Exactly. Sometimes shows have a great setup and then they don't know how to land the plane, right?
You mean Dexter?
But something that we talked about before that is not happening here, but just conjecture.
Mm-hmm.
One way to go would have been that Dexter dies, and the way Dexter in the past has seen Harry, Harrison sees Dexter, right? Like that could have worked too.
Well, I think that so Dexter New Blood, I think, was supposed to continue as a series. And that is exactly what was going to happen. You would see Harrison, who would be becoming a serial killer, and Dexter as his Jiminy Cricket character. And so that's the way to keep him on the show. And I'm pretty sure that was the intention originally. I think a couple of things happened. One was that the ratings were good on that show, but the audience reaction was not that good. People did not like Dexter dying, even though it's so funny. Like they pitched that whole season. This is a whole digression, but they pitched the whole season as like a corrective for getting it wrong the first time. They're like, now we're going to kill him off and do it the right way. That literally is how they marketed that. Like, we're going to kill off Dexter, but do it the right way. But then, of course, we'll leave him come on as like a ghost, a force ghost to come in under Harrison's, as his conscience to keep him in the show. And I think 2 things happened. One was people didn't like Dexter dying. People, however they judged this, whether it's social media or focus groups, were not interested in seeing a show. People didn't love the Harrison character, honestly. So I thought that like that kind of fell apart. And then when they're like, well, what if Dexter didn't die? And of course, we have it now. And to be honest, I thought they were going to be like, what if Dexter didn't die, and just threw away the Harrison character. I actually think, despite the fact that I wasn't a big fan of the Harrison character in the previous season, I kind of like this dynamic here where he is dealing with the trauma of, the whole situation with Dexter and having killed him and everything. We're thinking he still believes he's killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And having that whole trauma that he's going through and still trying to like build a life in New York. He's much more likable and relatable here than he was in that previous season.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I like the parallel story so far, to be honest. So while Dexter has been cleaning up after Harrison, the thing I wanted to bring up was, I forgot to finish what I was saying, which was that this is where things could be interesting, would be seeing Dexter pursuing Harrison and Harrison learning the code, or maybe not, because you see how he might have a conscience. He's haunted by all these deaths that he sees around him, and haunted by this guy that he killed, even though the guy's a really bad guy, by the way, really bad guy, but nonetheless still haunted by him, understandably, and definitely haunted by having killed Dexter as well. So you could imagine seeing the parallels between Harrison and the young Dexter, right? Like kind of going through some of the same things. So maybe there will be a little feedback between the two shows. That's just one way they might try to tie the two things together. It remains to be seen. But Dexter stayed late doing his investigation and heads out of the hotel, and his car's been towed, Sona. A very, very frequent occurrence in New York City.
And you know what? As long as I've lived here, which is several decades, I cannot read those parking signs to save my life.
That is absolutely done on purpose. There's no way those signs are not, that they are so baffling and contradictory and just not clear at all.
I've always
on
said
purpose.
they should just tell me when I can park there.
Exactly.
Just list the times that I am allowed to park. That would be so much easier.
They definitely could do that. This is all intentional because all that confusion leads to more tows, and that generates money for the city.
So much revenue.
Yep. And that's why it's like that. None of these things are done by accident. Harrison's has a pretty good, by the way, here. His friend picks him up in the middle of the night, and they go partying. They get to drive around in these luxurious cars, whichever ones are in the currently parked there. And he gets a hotel. He gets to stay in the hotel too. Like, it's a pretty posh setup he's got right now.
Mm-hmm.
How's this girl, by the way, getting him these hotel rooms? I mean, I guess she just knows which ones are available.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
And then she leaves him a key somewhere where he can get access to it. I'm pretty sure they're not just like, she's not like setting these things up. But.
No, I think she just knows that they're vacant and makes sure that nobody comes to clean them during a certain time.
Dexter's still driving around. Oh, I forgot to mention this from the very beginning. He's driving around in this car that conveniently is available because his next door neighbor, which also has him thinking about his mortality, has died while he's there, which very smart, by the way, very smart that he goes and grabs the guy's keys and his registration, and he jumps out the window, and like no one's looking for this car. But he apparently there's no APB out there for this car. So it's a pretty cool way that he got away. And even Angel, if he was a better cop, but we've seen from our experience of watching Angel on the show, not a great detective. So not too surprised that he wouldn't have thought of being like, well, are there any cars in this parking lot that are missing? And someone will be like, oh, the dead guy, where's his car? Oh, I guess that's how he got away.
Yeah, I think at some point they do reference his pickup truck, but then I was kind of like, but the pickup truck would be at his house, no? So how do you think he got from here to the house? You know, it didn't quite track for me, but.
No, the pickup truck, well, maybe they don't know this, but
Harrison has it. I understand.
Has it, right? Yeah.
But the conversation they have at the clinic is that Dexter has a pickup truck. That's the car that he's driving.
Right. And again, these detectives are not that good. They're not even aware of the fact that like he didn't come in the pickup truck. You know, whoever got him there, he was bleeding out in the snow. Anyway, very bad police work. Once again, not surprising, just status quo for this show. So, but of course, during this night where he has to go to the Brooklyn tow yard, is that where it is? Impound?
Yes, I was lucky when my car got towed. I only had to go to the West Side. Dexter had to go to Brooklyn.
My car has been towed many times in New York, and it's always on the West Side. I've never had to go to Brooklyn, luckily. But he gets to meet with this other rideshare driver. This same actor, by the way, is currently on Smoke also. He's one of the leads in Smoke.
Oh.
He's on two shows at the same time that we're covering here on the podcast. There's a lot of exposition here. He's like talking about the rideshare killer and his modus operandi. They call it the dark passenger. Immediately, it's like,
love this.
Dexter's ears perk up. He's like, what, the dark passenger? That's mine.
So funny.
The whole thing was very funny, where he's like, he's aroused, he's jealous. It's like, that should be my name. But he definitely sees this as a sign. I like that Ghost Dad turns up here and it's like saying like, hey, aren't we here to help out Harrison? And he's like, I can multitask. Okay. This is the most silly part of the whole entire show. So this kindly guy who says, well, there's this guy who's killing Uber drivers. And let me tell you a little bit about this guy. And that's why I'm a little on edge and everything else. It's hard to get jobs right now. He's like, hey, maybe I'll become an Uber driver too. And this guy says this character's name is Blessing, by the way. Definitely a blessing here for Dexter. Is like, hey, why don't you come hang out with my family? Not something I would do to invite a stranger to my house with a serial killer on the loose.
Well, especially the conversation they have at the party where everyone is like, he looks just like you, actually.
That is the craziest shit in the world. Yeah, when they get to his house later on and he shows up because, of course, they're like, it's the whole conversation is so silly. It's like, I really want you to come to my house and meet my family, even though I just met you for 10 minutes. It's like, maybe I'll come. Maybe I'll come. Hey, that guy who was telling you about who survived the attack by the killer, he'll be there if you want to talk to him. Like, why are you trying to incentivize this guy to show up? And then, of course, when he gets there, he's like, here's the guy I was telling you about. And he's like, sure. Yeah. Let me tell you a little about him. He's about your height, about your weight. I think your coloring. I think his hair color is the same. The face structure is similar to you. About your age. Yeah, you could be that guy. No, no way. So, of course, our friendly blessing dude hears all this and goes, you know what? I want you to move into my house with me.
But okay, before we get there, though, great story about how that guy escaped the serial killer, because I was dying to know that. So I like the exposition of that.
And the video, we get to watch it.
Yes.
Okay, then we see Uma Thurman again. It's the only time we break away from this storyline, just teasing us a little bit with this character. Charlie, we discover her name is, and she's meeting with somebody in Ohio. Is that where they are? Where are they? Yes.
Because he's like the Columbus Clubber or something like that.
The Canton Clubber, yes.
Oh, Canton Clubber, sorry. So many places in Ohio that start with C.
They do.
Cleveland, Columbus, Canton.
Yeah. It's very confusing. And this is what's being teased. Once again, if you haven't seen the trailer, I'll leave it at that. But if you want to know more, see the trailer. But we're teasing that there's some kind of organization that's paying these killers. I still need to understand what exactly is being outlined here. Somebody's paying this killer to do what he does. And he goes to use his ATM card. Charlie's there waiting. He doesn't have any funds in there. And she's like, you were out of line. He did something out of compliance in some way. Not sure what exactly the rules of this engagement are, but she's like, that's it. You're off the books. And he says the dumbest thing where he's just saying, like, what if I go to the cops right now? And she's like, I'll show them all the evidence that you've killed a whole bunch of people. What are you talking about? And then he grabs her. You shouldn't do that. And we don't know exactly how bad it goes. I don't think she killed them right there in the parking lot, but she probably, or certainly
daylight too. Speaking of like, are there no cameras in this parking lot? What is happening?
Yeah, I do want to know what's going to happen after that moment, by the way, because if she just swung that club at him, even if this guy is just left there, someone's going to be curious if this guy has been hit by a club when there's all these people being murdered by a clubbing serial killer. Not sure she did the right thing there, but.
Yeah, me either.
But she doesn't mess around, and you don't grab her. Do not grab her, especially when she has a club in her hands.
Not just a club, a spiky club.
A spiky club. Yeah, exactly. It's like right out of like Escape from New York. I guess maybe there's a reference there. Oh, by the way, Harrison wakes up in his car after being up all night. He gets rid of his car. Another paralleling here. He gets rid of his car at the same time that Dexter gets rid of the space alien car. Now, how does he get, I mean, I guess that's more nitpicking for me to have, but I guess he must have sold it on the black market somewhere, Dexter, that is, because he doesn't have papers for that car. He can't prove that he owns it. So,
I mean, also the time frame of this seems very, very fast.
Yes, very fast.
To sell the car and have a new car. And then, I mean, this is like New York City minutia, but we realized it has a T license plate, which is for drivers, right? Like it's a commercial vehicle. Like it feels like a 24-hour turnaround on that.
I assume this has been longer. Maybe it's been like a week or something. It has to be, just because given some of the logistics here. Although, no, he shows up at the driver's house that weekend, right? So he's like literally saying, like, why don't you come by on Saturday? So whatever week they're having that in the city, I think it's near the weekend because we see Harrison out partying all night. So it might be like 2 days later. So in 2 days, he's sold his car. He's gotten the driver's license, to drive for this ride share. There's a lot of stuff would happen very, very quickly.
Right. Busy couple days.
Oh, but I did want to mention that, not only is Harrison wakes up in the car and has a flashback to the shooting again, wants to get rid of it. He sees his dad's old information in there. He also wants to get rid of a car that could raise questions when he gets rid of it. So he's going to once again have to do something off books to get that car cleared. And apparently everybody's got the hookup in New York. I guess you just have to ask the right guy. But
that is kind of true.
It is true. That is true. But he also doesn't need to. They should say that he shouldn't be partying with drugs so much, considering how things went in last season when he started messing around with drugs.
Good point.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, Dexter eventually hangs out with Blessing and his family after being identified as the actual killer. They're like, why don't you hang out with us more?
Live with us.
Live with us. Exactly. He is a blessing indeed to Dexter. Asks no questions. It's way too trusting. But he's using Dexter Morgan again. It's funny that, by the way, when he calls the Uber or the rideshare, whatever they call this fictional rideshare app here in the show, My Ride or whatever you call it.
Your Ride.
Your Ride. Yeah, something stupid like that. But it says Dexter Morgan right on there. It's like he's not only like, he's fully embraced using the Dexter Morgan.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting also. Yeah.
I also find it funny that he's like not subtle about anything he does. While everybody's getting ready to eat or at the house, he grabs the guy's phone and texts the video to himself. And this guy's going to look at his phone later on and be like, hey, that weirdo forwarded this video to himself. The guy you invited to live in your house.
That I said looked like the guy that tried to kill me.
I'm just saying you should be very wary of that.
If you see him with the hoodie on, you better run.
Exactly. If he has a hoodie on, immediately pull out your camera. And if you see it's infrared, then you got to get the hell out of there right away. And do not give him back his deposit. Yeah, so Dexter Morgan, the identity is, as well, is fully indeed resurrected. All right, the detail he finds, again, this is so funny where these shows are like, well, there's a detail I found. I am the only one who could see this bag was tied this way. But anyway, I guess no one's investigated this because the guy, once again, is afraid because this is some commentary that he is undocumented, so he never reported it. He's just happy to have survived. So I guess no one's actually looking at this video, but he finds this backpack logo. He tracks it down to this IT company in the city. And by process of elimination, there's only one guy who doesn't have his photo on the website. And then he recognizes everybody else who comes out of there, except for this one dude. And he identifies pretty clearly that this is him. He does the thing I just exactly said, which is turn the camera on and pretend to take a photo in front of him just to see if his face is blacked out by this ultra red light. And then he does something very interesting. He intervenes. He intervenes before this guy can kill again. And his dad makes note of this. That's the first time he tried to save someone's life. Is Dexter changing, Sona?
Well, I think this is so interesting in connection with our conversation that we had with the bear and how characters can evolve, and how for me it is refreshing to see characters evolving, because I don't think it's necessarily typical in television shows to see that. So I do think that he is evolving. Maybe the near-death experience has brought him to that. But I also think there is a practical issue here, because he cannot follow this serial killer around 24 hours a day and keep saving people, right? At some point, he's going to realize it's more efficient to kill the serial killer.
Right. That's for sure. But of course, he is not fit yet, not fit enough to do this. He's also given himself away here because the guy notices that he is like on the platform trying to chase him down. So he has turned up on this guy's radar, and now this guy's going to be curious as to who is this guy and why is he following me around. He might assume maybe it's a detective, but no indications of that yet. And I'm sure if it is the cop, if it was truly the cops, he'd probably assume he'll see somebody when he gets home. And when no one else shows up, he'll be like, who was that weirdo? So yeah, Dexter's made some mistakes. Has that?
That looks similar to me.
Yes, exactly. We're like brothers. Maybe another brother. Oh my God. Maybe there was triplets.
Can you imagine?
That's all you need. Yeah, and that takes us to the end of the episode, basically. The big reveal here at the final moments, like the cliffhanger there, which is an interesting cliffhanger, is this idea that maybe he has chosen to save somebody. And as if like it doesn't, the show definitely wants us to know that, obviously, to have the dad actually point it out. But yeah, I'm really intrigued. I can't wait to see what happens next. The show could fall apart very easily.
Oh, easily. I will say also just one more thing about the episode and how we talk about the logistics of modern day living. I did like that they addressed explicitly where the cameras are in the hotel and what
Yeah.
they're able to see, and that they're tracking down people from seeing them on the cameras. So I was happy to see that explicitly addressed.
Yeah. Also, when you think about the actual dash cams in the cars, the Ubers, and how they are, this person is, very much intentionally hiding his face there. By the
Yes.
way, picking up another driver, obviously that wasn't himself that was going towards that ride share. And when they say Tommy, and it's not even like an alias he's using, he's just trying to grab the car, which is what happened before, where,
Yeah.
that's when the rideshare driver figured out that it wasn't him.
Yeah.
But picking this guy up like a block away from your job really seems like like if you think about it, like this guy has just walked out of work and he's just like, what am I going to have for dinner tonight? But you know what I really want to do before dinner or any other planning? I'm going to kill myself a rideshare driver like right now. I've been craving it all day. I need to hit one up. Look, there's one guy in the corner right here. I'm like, wouldn't you be a little more like, don't, poop where you eat type situation? I don't know.
That is a very unique application of that phrase.
But yeah, what do you think? Do you have any predictions for the near future? I mean, it's actually pretty easy to predict some of these things considering it's all in the trailer. But Dexter is going to make himself the lure of these Uber, having these ride shares.
Is he going to pretend to be an immigrant? How's that going to work?
That's what I was going to say. He's not going to be targeted by him because he doesn't know that yet, though. He doesn't know that yet. Right? He might just think this guy's just killing rideshare drivers and may not know. And
it just statistically happens that there are immigrants. Yeah,
exactly. And he may not make that connection yet, but he might make that connection pretty quickly. I hope they don't drag this on like this is the big bad for the whole season. That would not be interesting at all.
Well, I feel like the season-long arc is more likely to be this serial killer cartel that we seem to be learning about.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. I think that eventually...
Although this guy could be part of the serial killer cartel, right? So maybe it does.
That's a good point. Yeah, they may run into each other at some point in the future. That would be interesting. Yeah. Actually, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe this guy spots him and makes the connection, like thinking like, oh, maybe this is part of the cartel situation. But it would be interesting if he gets an invitation. Do you think do you think, I'm wondering if he is going to get an invitation, like if he's being targeted by the Uma Thurman cartel at this point?
Well, maybe the invitation was for him. He had all those driver's licenses.
I mean, yes, for this driver. I meant Dexter, when Dexter gets invited.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I assume Dexter is going to get invited. I just don't know if he gets invited because they're aware of him or do they think he's dead? I'm curious to know how much they know.
It's so funny. It's like we're talking about a fraternity. I think he's going to get a bid.
That's kind of what it is. All right. So we will know more next week. Only one episode, so we won't have to go through two. And we will maybe record face to face, or at least across the room from each other.
Yes,
but with our backs to each other, so we don't cross talk. All right. So thanks again for the conversation.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.